Hello and welcome to the first official recording of Let's Talk Hockey. With me today are two close friends and Ali St. Nicola. In today's show, I'm going to ask some questions so you, the listener, can get to know us a little bit better, and from there we can dive into some hockey topics and talking points. So guys, welcome to the recording.
Hello.
We're going to dive straight into it. And just for everyone to get some information about us and who we are, so they can kind of feel a little bit more like they know us a bit better. We've got some questions. Bid, you first. What was your first introduction to hockey, the sport, and how did you find it? And what was your first introduction to ice hockey?
Yeah, so the first introduction to the sport was actually through my dad. So he always wanted to teach me how to skate when I was a kid, so he used to take me down to the rink. And he was always spouting off that he used to play for the Nottingham Panthers, which back then I was like, yeah, of course you did, like, just whatever. And the time was sat at home, and Johnny Pustai, who was associated with the Panthers and helped out, turned up at the house, who's a good friend of my dad's, and actually confirmed the story that he did actually play for the Panthers. So I was quite surprised from that. And from there I sort of started taking interest, because it's like, well, what did he actually do? I wanted to know a bit more about it. So I started watching the Panthers, probably back in 2003 is when I started. And sort of fell in love with the sport and wanted to give it a go myself. So when I was 18 and I was allowed to start doing the adult scrimmages and stuff, I got myself, first I actually borrowed a kit off one of the lads that I knew. Played in kit far too big for me, but it was a way of getting on the ice. I absolutely loved it. And through there I've played through, we called it a team in Tamworth called the Tornadoes, which was 8 of us that used to rent the ice and had one puck between us and spent most of the session just nailing each other on the boards for fun, because that's what you do when you're first starting out. From there, moved down to Nottingham, started off with the Nottingham Knights, played there for a couple of years, and then ended up joining through to the Outlaws, which I currently am. Oh, and Ali sounds bloody hell.
We're having some technical issues with our recording, but we're going to try and get Ali back in so he can tell his story. But yeah, you've got a personal connection to the pro club. But you say that you follow the Nottingham Panthers. There's obviously other teams and other leagues around the world. Hockey fix.
Well, through me hockey fix, basically, if they're playing it on ice, I tend to watch it. So I got 3 sports at home, and it doesn't matter what league's on. I'll have it on in the background, just playing away. But the biggest one is obviously the NHL, which most hockey fans will follow through at some point. And I support the Washington Capitals, which it's been tough at some points, but recently we finally, after 44 years of trying, lifted that cup. So that was an amazing moment to watch. I remember I sat up watching it happen in Vegas when they lifted it.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing moment. Snatching it out of Vegas' hands, if they could do it in their inaugural season, and to be the you guys won. And luckily, you didn't have to wait too long from watching them as a supporter for them to lift it. So that's pretty cool for you to kind of recent memory, a recent history, something that you'll probably remember.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So, welcome back to Ali. We've got Biddy's story on. We've got Biddy's story on how he was first introduced to ice hockey and how he found the sport, etc. I hear you've got a very self. So let's hear your introduction to ice hockey. How you found the sport?
Oh, I don't know how interesting it is, but it certainly makes me feel old because I'd say it's sort of back in like 95, 96 when I first kind of encountered ice hockey and the NHL. So a friend of mine called Ed sort of introduced it to me by showing me these like VHS tapes that he'd been sent over from a relative in the States, and we both thought it was really cool. So we sort of went out and got like some rollerblades and some, those old Bauer wooden sticks with the plastic blades that you had to like melt and curve yourself because they just came flat.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, we played some street hockey for a couple of years, and then just sort of petered out. It was a bit of a phase, I guess, but I watched Panthers a few times, in those days as well, and just always enjoyed it, and sort of occasionally watched the sport, but didn't really kind of follow it religiously back in those days. And then sort of years and years later, so maybe like 2015-ish, something like that, I sort of back living in Nottingham and got back into going to Panthers games, and I thought, wonder if this is something I can have a go at. I always sort of assumed it was one of those sports that you had to be like, in the UK anyway, you kind of had to be on the track to being a pro, otherwise that was the only way you could play. But actually I was really surprised to find that there's loads of provision for amateur players to kind of get into the sport and learn to play and things like that. So it actually kind of came up on my Facebook just the other day. 15th of April 2016 was the first time I ever sort of stepped onto the ice with a stick in hand and played my first ever scrimmage session. Absolutely blowing out my arse by the end of it. But yeah, I never looked back. Absolutely hooked since then. Started playing with you boys a few months later. It was November of 2016 that I started playing with the Outlaws. Very first training session, I come along, walk into the changing rooms to meet this new team that I'm going to train with, and sitting there opposite the door is Peter Callis of Boston Bruins fame and of course Panthers fame. So I was like, what the hell have I let myself in for here? But there's a story there which maybe we could tell another time. But love it. Love playing for the Outlaws. That's my intro to hockey.
Yeah, that Peter Callis story is definitely going to be told at some point. If you guys want to hear it, you listeners want to hear it, then we'll definitely tell it. It's one to behold. But it was Ali's first training session in the team, and a professional ice hockey player who's played at the highest level, albeit not for a long time, but he made it to that point. He was good enough and picked up and whatever, and made it to the NHL, and he is on our training session along with I think he was backup goal. Yuri Pakel. He was the Panthers for one season, backup or injury cover, and because they were both from Eastern Europe, they kind of both spoke similar languages and stuff, and they were on Ali's first training session. So that must have been pretty fun. Yeah, exactly. When he's going down on our goalkeepers on 2-on-1 drill and just absolutely roofing it backhand harder than we can slap shot. You do kind of sport, but this plays this sport.
Yeah.
There's definitely a gulf of difference, but all of us are rec hockey players, and it's the largest growing area of the sport. So if it's something that anybody out there listening wants to get interested in doing or playing, then there's plenty of Nottingham community, hockey community to get a hold of and find a way into hockey or a team. Speaking of teams, we've already asked Biddy, and you've alluded to yourself, Ali, that you were a Panthers fan, a Nottingham Panthers fan. But what else fills your hockey fix apart from playing and watching the Panthers, or any other teams, any other leagues follow?
I've never been a kind of strict follower of the NHL to the point of like, I must kind of catch every score, or absolutely never got into the habit of kind of watching every game because they're always on so late and things. But kind of that sort of back in the 90s when I first discovered hockey, my first love was the Penguins. Around that time was when Lemieux was playing at the Penguins, and I think it was around about the time he was coming to retire for the first time anyway. And Channel 5 were showing NHL games in those days. So, late at night. And so me and my friend Ed, who I mentioned earlier, we would, one of us would like tape the late night Channel 5 stuff, and then we'd watch it like, on the weekend or whatever. Because I think Lemieux was coming up to retirement around that time, or just retired. And so they used to do these like sort of feature reels about his career, and I remember just being completely sort of blown away by the guy, and that's kind of why I always had a bit of a soft spot for the Penguins.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you kind of rolled into it, my next question there a little bit. So keeping with yourself there, Ali, is there any players that you've like idolized over the years? You've kind of mentioned Mario Lemieux there, but any other guys?
Yeah, his line mate Jaromir Jagr, absolutely incredible athlete. I mean, still going today. Albeit not in the NHL anymore, but still, sort of highest
as well. I'll have to Google that for next. I think his team is like Jagr's team.
Yeah, he owns the team, doesn't he? Or he's sort of heavily involved in running it. Yeah. Is it Cladno or something like that? I'm not sure.
I'll Google it for next time.
In terms of like some other players, obviously Sid the Kid is incredible. But then I don't know, some other teams. Martin Brodeur was always, I just thought, like an amazing goalkeeper who, just such a level of skill for such a long time. And then I guess thinking about, sort of closer to home, players that I've watched, David Clarke, obviously we all go on, certainly you and I, Max, go on his coaching courses and things like that, and he's a great guy, and been a sort of amazing player for GB for such a long time, and up until he retired not too long ago. And then sort of a couple of players that have come through the Panthers in recent years. We'd have to pick out like David Ling.
Absolute legend.
This year, absolutely. Loads of character, amazing skill, head and shoulders above pretty much anyone on the ice. When he was here. And then kind of in a similar vein, maybe not the same style of player, but in that same kind of way as just standing out from the crowd like this year is Sam Herr.
You can kind of tell when you get players like that are just kind of a different class, and they just it just clicks for them. It just works. It just doesn't seem to be, and it doesn't seem to be like they're putting in much effort, even though you could clearly tell that Sam was clearly putting in the work to be that good. But when it just it just flows, it just works. It's like they don't seem to have to think about it. Whereas when I know definitely for me, when I'm on the ice, I'm thinking about, geez, my left foot, my right foot, is my hand on my stick, or scratching my arse, or is it picking my nose? Like, the coordination.
Most of the time, it's picking your ass.
It's definitely scratching my ass because I'm on the bench. So same question on to you, Biddy. I'm guessing I can probably guess one guy that you've been taking a bit of a fancy to.
Well,
the great eight.
That's the thing. Like, in this segment, there's no way that you cannot mention the great eight. I know there's a lot of people out there that's not as much of a big fan of him, but you can't deny the guy is good. Like, even as a Penguins fan, you've got to admit the guy is good. And
incredible.
Obviously, like, is he going to make it hitting those Wayne Gretzky sort of stats? Personally, I don't think so. I'd love for him to do it, but I don't think so. He's probably the closest that's going to come, but I don't think so.
It's a different era of hockey. It's like no offense to Gretzky, and everyone's been saying it throughout this season when Ovi's been getting closer and closer. It's like, yeah, but the goalies are different. The way the game's played is different. Obviously, Ovi's played through some massive changes in the games as well, some advancements in technology and kit and the way that obviously the goalies play, etc. But yeah, to put up those sort of Gretzky numbers in what we're going to have to call the modern era of hockey or the more recent era of hockey, it's definitely something you've got to. He does it so perfectly well, and for some reason he's been doing it for so many years, but nobody marks him. He just kind of floats around, gets into his spot.
Yeah, whoever's passing
in the puck, whether it be Backstrom, Oshie, whoever it is, get it to him. He's going to fire a one-timer. You know he's going to do it, but yeah, every time teams leave him alone and do it, and it's strange. It's like he's got this uncanny power just to lose, be lost on the ice and then found again just at the right time.
Well, I don't even think it's that. It's a subconscious thing. The players stood in front of him know that no matter what they're going to do, he's going to get that spot. He can pick it out from like a needle in a haystack. He's going to get that spot. So as soon as they see him, they know it's already game over. Which, that's off to the guy. But again, like Ali said, bringing them more closer to home. A few of the players that I saw through the Nottingham Panthers that really sort of took my interest is his name just jumped out of my head. Robert Lackovich. I remember when I first started watching him, when everyone was slagging him off, saying that, oh, he's crap, why are we bringing him in? He's going to be no good or whatsoever. And the way he hit the ice and just took off, it was phenomenal. And like, for so many seasons, he was my favourite player. And I watched everything he did. Like, that's the player when I played, I wanted to be like. I thought he was great. And then, again, taking it away through the other side of the style, which I know it's sort of becoming a bit of a dead art and there's not much of a fighting left in the sport. But Alex Penner, when he was with the Panthers, the guy wasn't a very good skater, but he knew his job and he could do his job well to the stage where he had blokes twice the size of him legging it and being called chickens by the fans and stuff because he knew what he had to do and he could get the job done and people didn't mess with him. And that, I think it's when Panthers took the triple because nobody wanted to touch him because they knew they were marked by Weapon X. And like we said, it's dying out of the sport. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I'm unsure. In the professional leagues, I think it's a bit of a bad thing because it is a big part of the sport and it does help when done right. Bringing out a rec hockey, I think it's probably a bold move because I remember being out on the ice myself when I've had lads come up to me saying, I've not had a fight for 3 or 4 weeks. Do you want to have a fight just because? And to me, that's not hockey anymore. That's becoming like, you just want to have a fight, you want to have a fight. If that's what you're into, go join the boxing ring, go box. If you want to play the sport, fight when you need to, not because you want to. And I think that's the difference where everyone starts coming in with this side of the sport. It's there when it's required, not just because you want to be a twat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this is a topic that we could cover.
We could have a whole podcast on this, but go ahead.
I was just quickly going to say, like, to your point about people coming up to you at rec, like, I mean, it's rec. Like, people are going to work the next day. I totally get the concept of fighting in pro hockey because at the end of the day, you're defending teammates from cheap shots and things like that. But, that is a livelihood, like prize money and accolades are on the line. Yeah. Rec hockey, let's face it, there's nothing on the line but pride. Like, and, sure, if somebody does something real bad to one of your teammates, then you're going to stick up for them. But the concept of just going up to somebody and going, hey, do you want to fight just because is just ridiculous.
with rec hockey, it's the aftermath that comes with it. You've got to go to work the next day and you've got to kind of explain to, by the way, I play hockey and it got physical when I'm losing a tooth, I've got a black eye. or you've got to figure that out in real life. Whereas hockey players, they've got a trained medical person, they've got out the nose insurance, and it's their job. Like it's, they get, I'm not saying every hockey player gets paid to get punched in the face, but a lot of them, enjoy that side of the game and run it well. Yeah. Whereas in rec hockey, not only have you got to, like I say, deal with work and potential scarring and whatever else yourself, but then you've also got to deal with the fact that a hefty fine or a hefty ban's coming your way, and you're not going to be able to do the thing that you clearly love to do. Like we all do this because we all play hockey. We all pay to play hockey at rec level because we love the sport and because we want to play the sport. If you go around and do something stupid, like check someone to their head or get yourself thrown out of games for fighting and stupid things like that, and it comes back to you that you can't do your thing play your game for potentially sometimes 3 months. Like you can't play a game for you can't play the next 3 games, and your team only plays twice a month. Well, there's a month and a half gone of hockey. You can't play a competitive game. Well, competitive air quotes here. A competitive game or an organised game of hockey. And I think people, once they've had that slapped on them once or twice, and they realise, right, okay, I've gone 6 weeks. I've gone 6 weeks to 2 months worth of not being able to potentially train as well. They soon kind of calm down, quiet down, and okay, this is probably not the thing to do. And it's the only other flip side of that is in rec hockey you do get a lot more I'll take a 2-minute roughing. I'll sit in the box for 4 minutes. Like take that, get back out on the ice and play the game. So yeah.
I mean, as we all know, it's the obscene gestures you've got to watch out for in rec hockey. Yeah, but if you can buy your way back into to a tournament, you are doing something right. Again, another story that we'll dive into another time. Another story for another time.
Yeah, we're teasing so much in these upcoming episodes. It's only the first one. So moving on to my next question. Ali, we might have to tell that story for this answer, but I'm guessing you might have a better one than this. So, starting with Biddy, what is your favourite moment in hockey? Either you played in or watched. If you can give one of each, that's fine. But I think you have shown the one that you've watched. So maybe other than the fact that the Stanley Cup win.
Yeah, well, I say obviously that's. Yeah, last like you've mentioned, watching Ovechkin finally lift the cup that he's been chasing for so long was a great moment.
Yeah.
But as of a great moment of watching was going back to the Panthers again, was in the Continental Cup when we went against some of the better teams in Europe and we won it. And I don't think there was many people that thought that the Panthers were good enough to bring that sandwich tray, as everyone calls it, back into Nottingham. But they went and they fought their hearts out and they did everything in their power they could to get that win. And at some stage, they didn't look like it was going to happen, but they did it. And that was phenomenal to see. And I remember coming back to the Nottingham Ice Rink, the first game they had back where they presented it to all their home fans. And it was such a phenomenal moment to see them out there all lifting that thing. And everyone in the crowd made their own trophy as well to show back to them. And it was brilliant. You could see in that room the passion that people have for the sport. And it was great to be there. I really, that was phenomenal. I loved watching that.
So in that, for people who don't know, the Continental Cup is like a European Cup for ice hockey teams. There's 2 European championships, the Continental Cup or the CHL. The Champions Cup, CHL, and the Continental Cup. And it's the first time that a UK team has won that trophy. A few times, I think the Steelers got to the final. Belfast have definitely got to the final recently. Panthers have got to the super final. I believe, and they've obviously won it once. And I think for that season as well, the Panthers weren't doing well in the league. Definitely weren't doing well in the Challenge Cup. I think we might have even been out of it by that point. And that was the only piece of silverware that we brought back that year. And it clearly meant something, that we'd actually won something, and won something that was a little bit groundbreaking, a little bit history making. It's another thing that the Panthers have done. Panthers have done first. So
we're very proud of our sandwich tray. Very,
very proud. I don't know if you realise though, the one that they got presented with on the ice when they won it in Odense in Hungary, was it? I think it was in Odense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember them because they came through from the round previous with the Panthers.
Bulldogs, yeah.
Yeah, the Bulldogs. And then they hosted the super final as well. But the one that was presented on the ice, it's quite considerable, quite large. The one that they actually got to keep was about 2/3 of the size of that. So when it got presented onto the ice, everyone was like, "It looks so much bigger on YouTube. It looks so much bigger on the live stream." Well, they zoomed in, like it's a small guy, but that's a big. That's not as big now. Like for anybody who doesn't know, Google Alex Nickaforick. He's a wicked little Canadian player.
Again, great player.
Yeah, fantastic player. I think he's 5'0". He's nothing. There's not a lot of him height wise. But my God, can he skate around a hockey rink? And but yeah, the fact that the sandwich tray is probably the same size as his chest when they presented it back in Nottingham.
Another thing, what I don't think many people knew about him as well, is his wife was actually in labour when the woman did that, and he had to rush back to the UK to get back to see him. Yeah,
I missed something.
Well, it was before the win. It was I think it was after the first game.
Yeah.
His wife went into labour. He went back all the way to the UK to meet the baby.
Yeah.
And then came back to
play in the final game.
To play in the final in Italy, wasn't it? The final. So, no, it wasn't Odense. I think maybe Odense might have been the round before.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. In the intro in the next one, I'll definitely go over some of the corrections.
Check those details.
Yeah, we'll double check them. But again,
there'll be a lot of them.
So the second part to that question is your favourite moment that you've played in.
Well, it's hard to choose just one. Obviously, for any hockey player, that's
for such an accomplished player.
Like I said, when you're as good as I am and like falling your ass 3-4 times a game, like it's hard to choose a moment. But like I said, most hockey players will always think the first time they get the first goal is going to be their best moment. Which, when I first got the first goal and I got given the game puck because it was my first goal, I was ecstatic. And bearing in mind that was probably about 9 years ago now, and I've still got that with the tape around it with my first goal sat on the TV up in my bedroom, and I'll always make sure that puck goes wherever I go because that was so proud. And I even remember I was playing out in Cardiff back in the Big Blue tent before they changed it to the rink they are now against the Cardiff Devils. And like I said, it's God knows how many years ago now, but I can still remember the play what happened with the puck going to the corner, skating across the crease to the back post, the pass coming across with a source over the defender and putting it in the bottom left. It's like, it's that much it meant to me that I finally got it, that I still remember exactly how it happened, like who made me the pass, who actually made the second assist as well. That's how much it made.
Jeez.
But without doubt, the best moment we ever had was back in Nottingham when we played against the Nottingham Phantoms in the final of the first Nottingham tournament they did.
Yeah. 2015, I believe.
I believe that is correct, 2015. And it was a game where we were shocked
before my time
that we got to the finals. And the team we were up against was a team that everyone was expecting to win that weekend. So we sort of went out there expecting, like, if we can get the win, that would be great. But obviously, like, be proud we got to the finals and we're playing against such a good, strong team that we actually made this. So be proud of ourselves no matter what, because we got there. and then to win the game and get to lift the Stanley Cup of sticks that was made, which I believe you broke, Max, was
it was a combination of players.
It
was fantastic.
It was you.
I had hold of it whilst it was breaking. There was. I'm not going to say there was shoddy workmanship, but the top of it was only glued on. The rest of it was very, very solid. So we got told not to lift it by the top of the thing, but when you see people lift the cup, they hold it by the top and by the rim of the cup, and they lift it. So when you're handed something and you can't grab the middle, you have to grab the ends. Because of the way it was handed to me, it broke off. It was only super glued on. But yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful moment. I'll have to go again with a lot of this. I didn't do my research on what your answers may be, so I haven't gone back and done the research. But if I remember rightly, in that tournament, we lost in the opening rounds of it, and we also lost to the team we played in the semi-final as well. So going into the knockout, so going into that second day, it was played over a weekend. We 4 games on the. I think we had to finish the round robin, which the way that we finished our games meant that we would play the 2 teams. If it worked out, we'd play the Windsor Knights, who we lost to in the knockout in the round robin. We played them in the semi-finals, and then we kind of knew that we were going to be facing the Phantoms if we beat them guys. And the whole kind of, I don't want to say redemption story, but it kind of seemed right that the 2 teams that we lost against and we didn't kind of play that well against in the previous day or the previous round robin stage, we had a chance to go out there, show them what we actually could do, win the game, and lift that trophy. Because that was a moment and a half. That was a proper team win, a proper team through. And
it meant that much to the team. Now, most of our teams still have that picture of them holding that trophy as their display picture on Facebook. All these years later, recently changed because it meant that much to us all.
Yeah, and with it coming up to summer, that's why I changed mine. It's like with it coming up to summer and the kind of the top for rec hockey kind of meant there's starting up in the next couple of months or so. I was getting a bit nostalgic, so I changed the photo back to me holding that Stanley Cup of sticks. It's a beautiful, beautiful trophy, and it was so fun fitting to win such a way. But enough of me and Biddy talking about the old times. A more recent player to the Outlaws. What's your favourite moment that you've played in or that you've watched?
Well, okay, I'll do played in first. It's another tournament story. Biddy was playing in goal, which is a story in itself.
Oh yeah.
It's Wreckfest from a couple of years ago, and it's me scoring against the Coventry Snipers. So for context for everybody,
not just scoring the opening goal in a game.
Yes, the opening goal. Yep. Yes, to take the lead.
And if I remember correctly, the only goal to be scored in that team all tournament.
Yes, you're stealing my thunder now, Biddy.
The thing is that we're so excited being part of that team and being part of this moment that we're just as excited as you for this story to be told. So go ahead, Adam. The floor is yours.
It was thanks. Yeah, no, it was so for people that don't know, so Wreckfest is this annual tournament, 2-day tournament with short games. Held in, there's 2 of them every year actually. There's Wreckfest and there's a checking one that we tend to call Checkfest. And the checking one's in Sheffield and the non-checking one is in Nottingham. And this is the Nottingham one. And there's a team that come every year, certainly in the years that I've been around anyway, called Coventry Snipers, who are incredible, quite frankly. Yeah. I'm not stereotyping or generalizing, but they're all like from Poland and they play ice hockey a lot more over there. I was chatting to a couple of the guys sort of in between games at the tournament, and like one of the guys I was talking to was like, yeah, I played in like the top level in my country. And they're all sort of a little bit older now and now just play rec for a bit of fun, but they are incredibly good players and they win every year, and they nearly always win without losing any games and sometimes without conceding any goals. So it was we came up against them. We had a really good first day and managed to get ourselves into the top group for the second day. And I think it was our second to last game of the tournament. So, it was getting quite a ways into the tournament itself, and there's a little bit of a crowd watching this thing, mostly made up of other players that are playing at the thing. But everybody had seen the Snipers just beat everybody that came up against them, and so by the time we came to play them, everyone was cheering for us to just give them a game, and every time we got the puck and every time we got it into their zone, the crowd were kind of cheering us on and stuff, and it was great. And then
even every time we cleared the puck out of our zone, we were getting cheered. Like if they went more than a minute without getting a shot on goal, we were getting like clapped and cheered. It was awesome.
Yeah. And if I'm honest, I don't really remember the specifics of how I got the goal. I think I took a shot straight off the face-off, and the goalie kicked it, and then I got the rebound.
I'm not too sure. I'm involved. I definitely gave you the assist because I came around the back of the net.
You did.
I did because I came around the back of the net and celebrated like we'd almost fucking won the thing. So I don't remember if we were on a face-off and then I took a shot. I took a shot.
I might be getting confused.
Either way, it was from what I remember, it was a shot from either me or you, a rebound in front, and then I've come around the back of the net, and I think there was like maybe one or two guys next to you on their team, and then you just kind of fired it over their goalie, who was just kind of flailing on the floor for some reason. And then I kind of went a bit too crazy and celebrated like we almost won the thing. But like you're saying, they barely give up goals. So
the crowd went nuts. I've never played any sport in front of any kind of substantial crowd, and this wasn't a substantial crowd. It was maybe like, I don't know, 100 people.
Yeah, it was enough to make some noise.
But it's still enough to make some noise, and it still felt amazing to have maybe 100 people kind of cheering when I put a goal in. So it was.
And it was good. Such a.
Needless to say, we didn't go
on to win the game, but we were the only team.
We had me in goal. I'm not a goalie.
Yeah. So we were short on goalkeepers, and we were lucky enough that Biddy had played in goal previously before a little bit, and was gracious enough to put the pads on and play in net for us the whole tournament. He did an absolute, quite rightly got a trophy for that.
Just so we don't confuse everyone, when they say played in goal for a little bit beforehand, I played one session because I thought it'd be funny. That's it.
that's how. Oh, it'd be a good idea. It'd be fun. It'd be a crack.
Sufficient experience.
It'd be good fun. Yeah, there's some wicked stories about those tournaments and stuff, and they're a really good moment. If you get onto a rec hockey team through listening to this or at any point, get yourself involved in them tournaments, because over the 2 days you really do, they are something different. They are memory making. They are, and I've been involved in that, or the Outlaws in general, but each one's got a little story. Each one's got their own little moments, and each day has their own little moments. So because the games are a lot shorter, it's a lot more intense. But I'm going to move on to,
and you can tell that we're all really kind of missing.
Oh yeah,
yeah, at the moment.
Yeah,
because it should be coming up soon,
exactly.
shouldn't it?
You kind of get these you get these couple of like games beforehand. The training sessions start ramping up a little bit. People start getting ready for tournament style hockey, shorter games. You feel the excitement in the change room and stuff. So moving on to something a little bit different.
I was just going to say, sorry to cut you off, but I waffled a bit about my amazing goal against the Snipers, but I just wanted to quickly talk about a couple of memories.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Not from me playing, but from of watching. So I think one that just kind of gonna stick with me forever is Great Britain beating France in overtime to stay in the top tier of the World Championships last year.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible moment. Just screaming my house down. I had no nails left on my fingers. It was so tense, but yeah, just absolutely incredible when they managed to do that. So yeah, really big deal for anybody that's kind of new to hockey. Great Britain. We've got a good national team at the moment, but historically we've not really been considered one of the sort of powerhouses of world hockey. And the fact that the GB team managed to get back-to-back promotions, because that's the way it works in international ice hockey, from Group B to Group A, and then finally to the kind of top tier of the World Championships with the likes of Canada and USA and Russia and the like. To do that back-to-back and then to actually stay in that top tier by beating France, who have been there 12 years or something, was it, consecutively that France had been in that
again
group?
I don't know, I don't have the stats to hand, but they've been up and around there. They've had a few NHL players from France make it. The French league is nothing to be sniffed at. It sometimes can be taken as a joke, but there are some seriously good players teams as well. You do get a chance to see a couple of their club teams for the French league in the Champions Hockey League, the CHL, the European, kind of like the Champions League of football, UEFA or whatever it is. I don't really, as you can tell, as a hockey podcast, we don't really follow. I don't really follow football, but yeah, it's kind of like the CHL, the Champions League is like the top tier of European ice hockey for clubs.
Which leads me neatly on to my other memorable moment, which is Panthers beating Bern and Mountfield, who they beat home and away in the CHL a couple of years ago. Just insane.
Yeah, were you at them game? Were you at them games live?
I watched Bern. On TV, and I was at the Mountfield game.
So
and then after they did that and became the first British team in history to make it to the knockout stages of the CHL, I then went to Zurich to see them play the Lions.
That sounded like an absolutely wicked trip. I was lucky enough that season to have tickets to all of the home Champions Hockey League, Bern, Mountfield, excuse me, and the Finnish team, TPS Turku.
TPS Turku.
And yeah, I can't remember if it was Turku or if it was Bern, but it went to overtime. I think it was. I'm not going to say because I'm going to get it wrong, but it went to 3-on-3 overtime, and.
I mean, I can't remember the goal, so
I'm trying to remember a goal from a certain year from a certain player. So there was a player that season called Jan Sove. He was a defenseman. Played a little bit in the NHL, mainly in the AHL, and was doing a European stint. He's still playing, but he spent a year with the Panthers, and before the puck had even dropped for the start of overtime, kind of clocked him on the ice, and I said, he's going to score the winning goal. I said it to my mum, said it to my dad, I said it to my girlfriend, and lo and behold, they go in, blah blah blah, bit of back and forth. Panthers get it into the offensive end. Puck goes down low in the corner, and Sarvi just kind of skates along the blue line, takes a few steps in, gets a pass, and just lets an absolutely rocket of a shot to go in. And the fact that I called that from the stands, nobody's ever going to believe the fact that I said, "Oh yeah, he's going to score the goal." I genuinely did. I genuinely believed that he was going to score the goal, and he celebrated absolutely perfectly. I think it was a one knee double fist bump kind of thing. It's on YouTube.
You don't remember the details of the goal, but you definitely remember the details of the Sally.
Yes, I do.
Just the guy that has to put the sword away.
Your wheelhouse.
We'll get into my celebrations another time. We might do it at the end of this if you want to ask me.
You don't want to talk into Sally's. You will get ripped.
I don't care. If you Sally hard.
And you also double the length.
Because there's meticulous points to each one. But moving on to a more interesting. I don't really have. I don't hear a lot of journalists asking or interviewers asking. But what does your number mean to you guys? Biddy, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah.
Does it mean anything?
If that's as it sounds, nothing can.
What is your number?
What do you wear?
Just for the ones that are interested, which will be none of you, is I wear number 18. And pure and simply, the only reason I chose number 18 is because I was 18 years old the first time I stepped on the ice. So
it's got some relevance.
Yeah, so it's sort of fit, but as of relevance as such, it's not a thing. But I do remember that when I joined the Outlaws, I did receive a message from Alex Stanhope, who was setting up the team to begin with, who asked me to join. Mm-hmm. And bearing in mind, I've said that the number means nothing to me. The only reason I chose it is because I was 18 when I started the sport. I do remember actually saying to him that, yes, I will come and play for your team as long as I can have 18. If I can't have 18, then I'll stay where I am. And as daft as it is, I've said the number means nothing. But I weren't moving unless I could have that number. So subconsciously, there must be a reason. But yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so did you... So you played for another Nottingham team before the Outlaws was set up. You played for the Knights. Were you 18 on the Knights as well?
Yes. Yeah, so I started the adult scrimmages when I was 18, literally about 2 weeks after my 18th birthday. And I got chatting to a few of the lads down at the scrimmage. And one of the lads that I got chatting to played for the Knights. And he's like, well, yeah, just come down. Like, we let anyone on just because it's a bit of an open session sort of thing. See what you think. And I remember going down and having a few sessions and got chatting to the guy who ran the club at the time called Kev Vernon. And by that point, because I was only doing the scrimmages, so it was, I'll turn up when I can. I got to the stage where it's like, well, actually, I won't mind trying to play competitive. Like, I've never played a game. I've never gone up for the junior system. All I've done is jump on the ice where I've paid £10. The buzzer goes, you jump on for a minute, and the buzzer goes, you jump off, and you sit at the bench and have a laugh and take the piss out of the people sat next to you. So to go and actually be a team where I could play a game, to me, that was like, yeah, do you know what? I want to give that a go. So like I said, I joined the Knights where I played for many, many years. And unfortunately, the only reason I gave it up was due to work. They used to train so late on a Sunday night and working shifts, getting up at 5 a.m. on Monday mornings. It was just killing me. I just couldn't do it no more. So it was a shame because they were a good bunch of guys and I'd have loved to have been able to train the Knights and the Outlaws. But yeah, I couldn't do it. Not getting off the ice at 11, 12 o'clock on a Sunday night and getting to work at 5 o'clock Monday morning. It was killing me.
No, definitely not. And life gets in the way of a rec hockey player. We've got to juggle so much. We don't have the obviously. We don't do this. We don't do this for a living. We do it for the love of the game, and we don't have the luxury of being able to just jump on the ice, play the sport, go home, go to sleep, jump on the ice, and do it all over again. It's something you kind of have to juggle and kind of have to figure it out. But moving on to Ali, your number. Is he there?
I'm back.
Oh, he's back.
You lost me for a while.
Oh, okay. You were so quiet. I thought you were engrossed in Biddy's story. I definitely was.
Yeah, it was good. No, my connection just dropped like 30 seconds ago or something like that. So I missed the very end of it, but I'll listen to it later.
Definitely. So moving on, what does your number mean to you?
So I'm number 86, and well, I wanted 85 because that's the year I was born, but it was taken. So I went for 86, which I just went, oh well, kind of the number I want, so I'll go for the next one that's available. And then I sort of started to see little connections to it after I'd got it. So 86 is the year that my fiance was born, Simone. It's like Jager's one of my favorite players, and he was 68, so it's like the reverse of that. And then this one's a little bit tenuous, but if you turn it upside down, it becomes 98, which is my house number. So
it's tenuous, but it counts.
I'm counting it.
Yeah, well, Lemieux honored Gretzky by putting his numbers upside down, so that counts. That definitely counts.
Yeah. So I mean, I would have maybe gone 66 as well because of the Lemieux thing, but again, that number was taken when I joined the team. So yeah,
I think there's another Pittsburgh fan who picked that up. And I know 80s. And at that time when you joined, I think there would have been there was two brothers on the team, the Cole brothers. I think one of them had 87, which was Crosby's, which I think could have been another number that you would have been kind of fancying.
Yeah.
But hey, if you'd have had that, you'd have got chirps, or you'd have been like people all over you, like, oh, you're only wearing that number because you think you're Crosby and this, that, and the other.
Oh yeah.
But then if you score that goal like you did, exactly, are you going to cry like Sid? All that sort of stuff. But yeah, if you score that goal like you did against the Snipers, I think you can count that.
Yeah. I mean,
nice greasy goal in front.
Sid might not have got that one. So.
Yeah, exactly. He missed an empty net one season. One game, one season, once
in Pee Wee.
No, he missed the wide open net in the NHL. It's one highlight of his that I keep watching every so often. Just go, yes, he's human. He does miss the net. He does miss. But then he goes through 5 people, roofs it backhand, and then just kind of skates around like he's like he's not done anything. Yeah, and then I cry a little bit inside and think I wish I could do that.
Yeah, hats off to Sid. As much as I dislike the guy, that one time where I watched him take one-handed wrist shot and score it, you can't deny that was beauty. That was stuff of beauty. Yeah. That was good.
There's players all over the league and all over like teams as well that you just kind of go, right, okay, regardless of who I follow, who I cheer for, and all that sort of stuff. Like, okay, you can clearly tell that Carey Price, he's on the I think he's on a bit on the decline now. It doesn't help. He's on a unfortunately bad team, but he clearly is a fantastic and awesome goalkeeper. The likes of Jager, the likes of Gretzky was obviously loved throughout the whole league as well. Like there's just players and generational players that you just kind of go, yeah, it doesn't matter who you shout for team wise. You just kind of go, yeah, I recognise you. You got to recognise how good they are.
Yeah, you've got to recognise talent when you see talent, no matter who they are. Yeah, like talent's talent.
Yeah, I think that's like why I called out Brodeur earlier. Like never been a New Jersey fan or anything, but just he was a sort of once in a generation kind of talent.
Definitely.
Get those just cropping up all over the place.
So I've got 2 last questions on my thing. I do realise how long we're going now, and I don't want to try and bore people out. So we're going to try and rattle through these 2 a little bit quickly, and we'll have a little bit of a chat at the end. So number 6 on my list, we'll start with Biddy again. Who would be your dream line? I'm going to leave out goalie, but who is your 4 of the players joining you on the ice for your dream line? They can be pro players, they can be players who are no longer with us, they can be rec players, they can be whoever you like. Something we haven't brought up, but myself, Ali, and Biddy all play centre. We all play down the middle for the most part. I sometimes play wing. I try not to play defence. So who are your 2 wingers and who are your defensemen?
What a question. Well,
if you want some time to think, I can go to Ali.
Obviously, down on my left wing, it's got to be no other than Mr. Ovechkin. We've made this perfectly clear. The grade 8's got to make the team.
Yeah.
As in my right winger, God, who knows? As a right winger, I'm not quite sure what position he played, but no dream team's made without Gretzky, which I believe he was a centre, but unfortunately, mate, move over. It's mine now. Down to me defences, I'd love to have Mike Green. I thought when he was at top of his form, I thought he was a phenomenal defenseman in the NHL. He did play a solid game. And pure and simply, just because I've met him in person, and he is genuinely such a nice guy, and like you would have thought, bearing in mind he's a professional player, and these people, he talks to you like you're just casual Joe in the street. He's not a pro player; he's just one of us. So Stevie Lee, 100%, he's on my line. He's on there. He's got to be on there.
Yeah,
and I know you sort of mentioned non-goalkeepers, but I've got to put a goalkeeper in.
Okay.
And I would like to choose K-Wall because K-Wall's good, but unfortunately, after what Ali mentioned with the GB success we've had, Ben Bounds, unbelievable goalkeeper at the minute. Like, he's out there 100%. And if it's not Ben Barnes, and if I do choose a rec player, because I've not chosen a rec player yet, Mr. Mansell Wood, 35 himself. The guy is, again, like Nicky you mentioned, the guy's 5'0". The goal stands taller than he does. But you ain't putting the goal past him. Oh my days, that guy could move. So, as of a rec player on my lineup, Mr. Mansell Wood all day long.
Yeah, definitely. For those of you who don't know, I'll be surprised if anybody doesn't know him. He's very well known out in the rec hockey world. If you're listening to this and you're a rec hockey player, Mansell Wood has played a number of years on ice, roller and ball hockey. I think he's only playing ball hockey now. He's kind of hung the skates up, but he's still playing in goal. And I think he's playing out a little bit as well for those guys who are playing for deck hockey or ball hockey, whichever you want to call it. But yeah, that guy, he could stop a puck that was like destined for the goal. And yeah, he was almost like Hasek, Hextall, and a few other goalies rolled into one. Like, he had a mean streak, he could fly around, and he would find a way to stop the puck. And I think he's definitely testament for Outlaws winning as much as they've won and having as much success.
Oh, 100%.
You're definitely spoiled in the world of, we have been spoiled in the world of goalies.
Well, like you've mentioned, through just the Outlaws' history, we've had a lot of players in the Outlaws' history come and go. But he is still the only player in Outlaws' history that got a stick salute off the ice because we was going to miss him that much. He was a huge part of the team on and off the ice. And it's a shame he left. And if you're listening, please come back.
Yes, even if it's just for training and scrimmages, it's fine. We just want you around. We love having you around as much as you were. But I think that stick salute could have gone on people that it was going to happen. And we kind of put the word out there on social media. We'd have had people from Coventry, the immediate areas, and probably even a little bit further afield as well. Probably sending messages. He probably got a hell of a lot of messages through on his Facebook and stuff. But that if we were to make a stick tunnel kind of salute and opened it up to as many people as they wanted, that stick tunnel could have gone around the rink maybe 2 or 3 times.
He'd still be walking through it now, I reckon.
yeah, probably would be doing his uni work. But onto Ali, who's your wingers and defensemen if you want to throw a goalie in, by all means.
Okay, well, so I thought about this question before, but I think I slightly misunderstood it, because I was thinking of, like, you know, my all-time forward line.
Okay.
So, in terms of, like, a forward line that actually existed, maybe, like, well, you know who I'm going to say, but Lemieux, Jager, and Ron Francis.
Yeah.
Just an incredible line. Back in the 90s, like 96, 97, I looked this up earlier, they scored 307 points, which is just insane. But putting me on the spot now. So if I'm centre and I can have anyone at wings and defence.
Yeah, you can bring them back. You can do whatever you like.
Okay.
That's right. You can choose me if you want to. It's fine.
I set you up for that goal. I think.
Obviously, you guys can be on the bench.
I've got coaching experience and Biddy got coaching. We're good.
So yeah, I mean, you got to go for Jager on the wing, on the right wing. I don't know, maybe like Luc Robitaille on the left. And then defense. I mean, I don't know any defense. I just don't think about it. I'm going to just go maximum flow and say Erik Karlsson. And then just put his twin next to him and put Adam Rosen there.
Yes, definitely somebody that I definitely want to get on this podcast. But that is, but the thing is, like, they could swap sticks and it'd be perfectly fine because they've got each other's sticks.
Because he buys his second-hand sticks. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
A-team himself.
Yeah, Mr. 55, Adam Rosen.
And then I don't know, goalie wise, I mean, Mansell is a great shout in terms of goalies that played with. Obviously, Aaron, who plays with us now, is an incredible goalie. In terms of like NHL goalies, again, Brodeur, fantastic keeper. Fleury as well. Obviously, my Penguins poncho coming out there again.
I think you meant Daniel Holby.
Only if he's got playoff beard.
Chewbacca himself.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, and another straight, not say questions, but an unusual question and something that kind of has come up from doing hockey camps. So Ali, you probably be able to get this answer this probably the same as me. Like you mentioned earlier, we go to Clarke & Co. Hockey camp, which is run by David Clarke during the summer. We're hoping that this quarantine kind of lifts in time for it. It's not looking likely. I've kind of come to the realization it might not happen, but still fingers crossed just in case there's a slim chance. But the question is, and it kind of relates to it, is if you could have any coach for a season, who would it be and why? I mean, it could be a player that's turned into a coach, but if you've had a coach in the past or been coached by somebody or seen a coach, who would you want to be coached by? We'll start with Ali, seeing as I mentioned in the question.
I mean, well, you sort of answered it in the question. I mean, in terms of like realistic, someone that I know, David Clarke. But he has a number of other coaches on the ice with him. Like, is there somebody that I've not mentioned on those guys out of those guys which are taking your fancy, or a coach that you've seen come and go, or I mean, personally, for my own kind of development and how much I've kind of gotten out of those camps, just David himself, like he has this really great way of kind of getting a concept across to you in a way that you can understand, and keeping it simple, but kind of letting you see those iterative improvements that you get from. He just kind of goes, right, now just change this thing, just change the angle of your arm there, let's do 3 more of those slap shots or whatever, let's do 3 more of these or whatever. and letting you see the differences that you get from those really simple to grasp changes. And he's just a really nice guy. Like, I mean,
definitely.
All the coaches on that camp are really amazing guys, and they're sort of giving us wannabe amateur guys, the kind of benefit of their professional experience, and it's an absolutely sort of fantastic course to go on. I mean, in terms of kind of pro level, NHL level coaches and things like that, I couldn't really say. I mean, I could list off kind of big names in history, but you have no idea really what it's really like to be coached by them.
Yeah, you get snippets every so often through listening to like player interviews, etc. But like 90% of how a coach is portrayed is through the media, and they've always got. I kind of feel like they've always got some sort of an agenda, whether it's kind of like to beat the coach down because they're not doing so well team wise, or to kind of make him like this. Oh my God, he had this perfect plan the whole time, and it just kind of worked. Like, just you don't know how much of what the media says is true, I suppose.
Herb Brooks, just for the jazzy suits.
Oh yeah, yeah, a guy with a bit of style, definitely.
Yeah.
So over to anybody that kind of stands out as a coach, or you want to be coached by.
Well, I think I've made it perfectly clear. I do like to have a bit of a laugh and a joke. So my personal coach, bearing in mind this, I know this guy didn't exist before. Like you all start complaining. Gordon Bombay from the Mighty Ducks. Like,
okay.
I already know.
Or someone that coaches like Bombay.
Yeah, like I already know I'm as good as I'm going to be. Like I'm at the age now where realistically I'm only going to start getting worse. And the reason I want to play the sport is because I want to have fun. That's my main thing. I do it for the fun and the social aspect of my team because they're my second family. And obviously they're only filmed, so they are overly exaggerated. But a coach like Gordon Bombay, where, he needs to get the job done because he needs you to be the best you can. But someone that can actually have fun with you, that makes you want to be there, where it's not just like skate lines, red line, blue line, press ups, do that. Like, that's good because that's going to build your team, that's going to get you to the place you need to be. But I want to have that laugh and the joke along the way. I don't want it to be serious the whole time. So my ideal coach is someone like him where when he needs to be strict and get the job done, he'll get it done. But at the same time, if you want to have a throw around with a football on the ice and just take the piss, like, do it because you're working on skills that you're not going to think about at the same time because you're having fun instead of taking it serious. And a coach that sort of comes to my mind is who we currently have at the minute, Steve Kimber, which a couple of months ago, he did an open session where he chucks loads of stuff out on the ice. And he's like, there's that and that. And he sort of just went, right, go play. And he never actually coached us in that session. But as we skated around, you got somewhere and you saw one of these passboards. So you made a pass of it, you received it, you took a shot at the little goal. And when you start thinking about it, it's like, he hasn't told me to go do that. But I've looked that if I pass to that and receive a pass back, if that was a player, and I've turned and got myself in this position, I've got a shot at that goal. And he sort of taught me something that I won't think about normally if someone was screaming and shouting at me, by letting me have fun. So to me, yes, you need someone that's going to be like, I want you to do this, 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 do that, do this, do that, because that's what's going to make the players and make the team work. But it's got that fun aspect where you want to be there and not thinking, oh, fucking hell, I've got to go to training now. Oh, can I be asked? He's got that thing where it's like, yeah, do you know what? I can't wait to get there. And to me, that's the ideal coach because you want to be there instead of just, oh, I better go because I'm on the team. And that to me, that's my ideal coach.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, he definitely does have a way with the team, more than our most recent coaches and stuff. Not saying that they were bad at all. They were every coach is good and bad in their own ways, and they all teach you something differently, and they all teach you something different about yourself and about the game, which is just the kind of the essence of coaching. Like they all have their own little style, their own little gimmicks and little things, but kind of maybe this year until before this coronavirus stuff is go on more hockey camps. Obviously, I wanted to do the David Clarke ones, so I've done them so many years, and there's so many good people, and you never know. His lineup of coaches does change, so you get different takes and stuff, but the core of coaches is still there. Who he has on his coaching roster is himself, David Clarke, Corey Nielsen, Steve Lee, Tom Norton, Luke Ferrara was on it once or twice.
Ollie Bettridge.
Ollie Bettridge has been there a couple of times now. Robert Farmer's been there a couple of times. So even some of the younger guys, Josh Tetlow's been on there. Cade Nielsen, who's Corey's son, and I can never remember
Morgan.
Morgan Riley. Morgan Riley. He's a defenseman for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Can you imagine if Morgan Riley was on there? Jeez. Morgan, who's David's son. All of which have obviously played at a certain level, either played internationally or overseas, or obviously played the sport at a pro level. And Cade and Morgan are getting into that kind of lifestyle and that kind of. I think they're at the college level now, or just before college. But yeah, like having those guys watch your game or watch the way that you play and have the eye for detail that a couple of them have is unbelievable. Like they can look at the way you're shooting and say you're too tense, your shoulders too high, your elbows too far out, and this kind of like small, like Ali was saying, small incremental changes which like boost, feel like you boost your game like tenfold. Every time you come off one of these counts, they usually last 2 to 3 days, and yeah, if anybody can ever get a chance to go on a Clarke & Co. hockey camp, I'd say try and get on a couple of scrimmages first. Try and get your feet under you. Make sure that you can kind of. You don't have to be a superstar skater, but I feel people will benefit more if they are comfortable on their skates. Not confident, but comfortable. They can move around. They can almost stop. They can kind of hold themselves up. No one's ever going to laugh at you on them courses for falling over. We're all there for one reason, to make yourself better. But yeah, those coaches on them courses are fantastic, and I was hoping this year, obviously, to get out and do some more, like maybe some international ones or European ones, and kind of increase the hockey knowledge. But yeah, so we've been going for nearly an hour, so we're winding down a little bit now.
Yeah. I was going to shoot some of those questions back at you.
I was going to say,
I've had you guys answering a lot of them.
Yeah, well, that's
if you want to ask them back at me.
That's what I was going to mention. This first one was about like the people getting to know me and Ali, but obviously we're going to change week in, week out with other people where you're the host and people need to know who you are. So obviously I've been thinking, and like you've asked us like our greatest moments, what our number means to us and all that, but you've not really elaborated on it yourself about you. So I think we should take at least 10 minutes now-ish. Maybe not 10 minutes because we know you're not that interesting, but we should take some time to get a bit of what you are, as you're going to be on every single one of these podcasts. So,
well, yeah, I'm hoping to be. I'm hoping this can be a universal thing where we have a few people that can kind of either host and I'll be a guest sometimes, or we get people in and kind of change the roster and the outlook around. But yeah, I'll happily answer the questions if you fire them at me.
Well, I'm glad you heard that because you didn't have much of a choice. Basically, the first thing I want to know, because I've spoke to yourself about your NHL teams, what you like about the Panthers and bits and bobs like that, but you've never actually explained to me of anything about your number. So I'm quite interested personally why you chose the number you've chose.
So it comes from a couple of places. First off, I've got to tell you a little bit about how my numbers evolved.
Well,
so
first of all, you need to tell us what your number is.
Okay, I now play in 96. I've played in 3 numbers in total. 96, which I wear now, and have done for a more considerable time than the other 2. I've number 52. I played that in juniors for the majority of my time in juniors, and I played for the Nottingham North Stars for a little bit. Got a jersey, and 96 was taken, so I took my junior number, which was 52. And then because 52 wasn't available, and they only had a limited number of jerseys printed when I was playing junior roller hockey, and I was a defenseman back then, and defensemen typically wore low numbers. I got number 2. So yeah, I've worn a few numbers in my time. I'll say number 2, number 52, and 96. And I wear 96 now. I say for a couple of reasons. First one being that on those scrimmages that how Ali got into the sport and yourself, Biddy got into the sport, you get to wear your own jersey. And I was a bit selfish and I bought myself a jersey of the Mighty Ducks, the first one. It had Conway on the back of it and it had 96 on the back of it as well. And a lovely little C on the front. And I wore that jersey for, I think, at least a year's worth of hockey. A good year's worth of hockey. And I kind of fell in love with the number. And then another little slight side reason is I'm a massive fan of the Vancouver Canucks. That's my NHL team. I've watched them for the longest time now, like since 2008, maybe even a little bit before that. Like back in 2005, when I used to play NHL games on the PC with my mate Alex, and Pavel Bure. He wore 96 for 1 or 2 seasons for the Vancouver Canucks, wore 10 for the rest of his career, but for 1 or 2 seasons he wore 96, and he was the first player that I went, wow, that's a hockey. Like him and a few other hockey players, he was the first one where I went, wow, I want to do what he does. Like, he's cool. He's a hockey player. He's fast. He's exciting. He scores goals, and he plays this awesome sport. And yeah, he wore 96 for one season. So yeah, that's the reason why I wear 96.
Okay, that's more in depth than I expected, to be fair, compared to why me and Ali chose a number. Like, you seem to really have a connection with your number.
If I'm honest, I assumed that it's because you really wanted 69.
No, I know. It's people do give me chirps for it, and I get called Conway a lot, or I used to get called Conway a lot. And yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, you got your numbers the wrong way around, and it's like the other trying to chirp that it's meant to be 69, but no. A pro player wore it that I love. A movie player wore it, and yeah, I wore a jersey that had it on for a significant amount of time. So I was like, when it came to picking a number, a lot of the 90s were available. I was like, I'll have that one because it's not available, because it's available, please.
I mean, to be
nobody dare
honest,
pick it.
you fall over enough that it ends up being 69 most of the time. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. If anybody gets a look at the pictures that get taken whilst we play games, yeah, I'm on the floor or covered in ice because I've just stood up from being on the floor.
To be fair, you've just touched on another subject that was going to be another one of my questions. So sorry to quickly butt in before Alan mentioned something else. But you've mentioned your favourite player sort of thing. Now, I've had the privilege of actually coming over to your house and I've seen inside your wardrobe for some weird reason. And you actually own more hockey jerseys than you do clothes. And how many Ali's mentioned we've got our favourite teams, like I support the Caps, sports Penguins and all that.
Yeah.
In your wardrobe, you've got pretty much any team you can think of, AHL, NHL, Swiss League, European. You love collecting your jerseys, and you've got loads that are signed by players that you've managed to meet yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, out of all these jerseys you own and all these people you've managed to get signed, which is your favourite jersey and why is that your favourite jersey?
Oh, good question.
Okay, so so the collection right now I have is made up of NHL teams, Nottingham Panthers. My own collection, because when you go on hockey camps and play for certain teams and do certain things, you get a jersey that comes with it and stuff. A few of them are signed, not all of them are signed. It's a bit of a shame. I've got 4 or 5 prized possessions. So I'm in my living room right now. I'm staring at one. It's Anaheim Mighty Ducks, Teemu Solani. The jersey was issued to the team and it's been customized for me with Solani on it. I'd love for him to try and sign that. I've got a couple of Panthers game worn jerseys that are signed by the players. One of them being Jan Sauvé, who played for the Vancouver Canucks. Connections to Vancouver, I kind of try and collect their jerseys more than any others. A jersey that's a replica. I don't know. I have to say my favourite one, because I never got to own one of his actual game jerseys, is not this year, but last year. Stevie Lee, who you mentioned earlier, is one of your D line. British player. He'd played for the Panthers for 10 years, got a testimonial. They brought back a load of classic players, legendary players for the Panthers. One of those guys was Jordan Fox, and I definitely fell in love with his style of play as well. He could just do anything he wanted on the ice and had the cheek to kind of back it up as well. And yeah, he was the captain for the Panthers. He came back. For Stevie Lee's testimonial, I was the coach. I paid a sum of money, which I will not disclose, to be behind the bench. And she knows. My parents know as well. A lot of people know how much it was. The information is out there. I'm just not going to say on the podcast.
His girlfriend knows because I told her personally, just so you're aware.
I paid a lot more this year to do what I did. But I got to, air quotes, coach this team of ex-Panther players and current Panther players of that year. And I also got to pick the team as well, which was quite in a draft style. And I said, right, I've got to have Fox and I've got to have Guy Lepin, who's a D-man for the Nottingham Panthers. I own Jordan Fox's game-worn and signed sweaty jersey from a testimonial that he played in, nice. Which it's not a game-worn like when he was playing, but it's enough. And I got to coach him whilst he was wearing it. I got to be around the locker room with him, and he signed it to me and my family. And I initially bought it for my mum. It's gone in the jersey collection, so it's come along with the jersey collection. But my mum really liked the way that he played the game as well. It was one of the first kind of people that she kind of goes, "Oh wow, okay, he's a good player." I got his jersey. That's one of my prized possessions. Even though I've got some other ones which are probably more valuable to me, that's a bit special for me. So yeah, that's probably my favourite jersey out of all of them.
Nice. Me personally, I can't think of anything else that I want to know about you, so I'm going to hand you over to Ali now, just in case there's anything that you might want to know about, Max.
Well, I think you maybe hinted at it earlier on, but when you mentioned about playing juniors, but kind of what was your intro to hockey? How did you first experience it, and how did you end up playing?
So very similar to yourself. The thing is, like with you guys, I can kind of pin it back to one person. His name's Alex Gaich. We've been friends for too long, for at least like 20 years or so. And he got me into hockey because he was playing out on the street when kids used to play out on the street and not just be on their iPads and Xbox.
You sound
and he
so
was
old
skating
right
around. I sound so good. And yeah, he's like, next thing you know, like him and his dad are saying, "Do you want to come down to the rink and get training?" And him and his dad took me to get my first set of roller skates from Decathlon, and we're playing roller hockey out on the street. And then I got on the ice. I started playing in the junior system, and I'm going to drop all these names like Robert Lackovich, Robert Farmer, Tom Norton, James Neal, any young British player that's around 30 years old, I had probably played with in juniors at some point, but I never got played because those guys were infinitely better than me, which stands to reason. So I left ice hockey because I wasn't getting paid. Wasn't getting played. Sorry, wasn't getting on that. Wasn't getting played. Wasn't getting the time. Wasn't getting the minutes. So my dad was a bit cheesed off at the coach. And then one of the parents said, "Oh, bring him down to roller hockey. If he still wants to play, if he trains, he'll get better. He'll play, and it won't be as much of a kind of waste of money kind of thing." So I went and played roller hockey as my junior stuff, and that's how I got into hockey. I can pin it back to one guy, Alex Gaich. He's the reason I have this discussion with a minority sport in the UK.
Cool.
Not bad at all.
And let's wrap up then with asking you about your dream line.
My dream line. If we're going along the same things, where I've got my two wingers and two defensemen and goalie.
I mean, one winger, because one of them is going to be me, obviously.
Well, if we pull the goalie, if we pull the goalie, he'd be first there. But on my wing, even though he played centre, I would have Marcus Naslund. He was the next player after Brodeur that I kind of went, yeah, I want to be like him. I want to play like Naslund. I only got to see like a little bit of Brodeur. I got to see pretty much the whole career of Naslund. On my other wing, it's a toss-up between two absolutely beautiful heavyweights. Both wore 44, surprisingly. One for the Nottingham Panthers, Barry Nykar.
Yeah, Barry.
The Tasmanian devil that is Barry Nykar. And another brute, but is Todd Bertuzzi. Him and Naslund used to play together, and me and Alex used to pretend to be those guys out on the street. Naslund to Bertuzzi back to Naslund to score. Defensemen. I always liked Guy Lepin, so he's definitely got to go back there. And a coach on David Clarke's camp, Corey Nielsen. The way that he used to command the ice was just astounding. Go back and watch any of his games. You know, you could pick his well, you can pick him out from a mile away anyway because he's like 7 foot tall. He towers over most players without skates on, let alone with skates on, and he just has this style of skating that just effortless, doesn't really put much into his stride, but seems to have so much power, and like it's just his presence on the ice was just unlike I'd seen before. So he'd definitely have to go back there with Guy. And for a typical Panthers fan, you'd probably want to pick Kowalski, but I really quite liked Mika Weekman, even though he was only here for a season. Was he or two? He wasn't around. He wasn't around too long, but I really kind of warmed to him. His personality, his little quirks and traits and stuff. A couple of times when I was, because I've been involved with the past 2 testimonials that have gone for the Nottingham Panthers this year and last year, and got to meet him a couple of times, being in the supporters club and all that sort of stuff. And he was a cool guy to kind of meet. So I probably put him in goal, even though he probably didn't have the best lineup in front of him. He didn't have the best record or whatever, but yeah, I liked him as a goalie. He was definitely, I think he'd go in there. If it was rec players, I'd put Aaron in goal. I'd put Rosen on D. Probably put Binch with him because I seem to score off most of the passes that he gives me. Mm-hmm. For my wingers, a new guy that's kind of come, I'd like to play a lot more with. We call him Little Mitch, but Mitch Brodeur. I'd quite like him on my wing for a couple of times. I think he'd be fun to play alongside. And who was it recently that I've played with? There's a number of players that I've played well with on my wing, but me and Tom Peacock just seem to have a way that we just kind of seem to find each other and create situations together and create good passing opportunities and scoring opportunities. I've scored quite a few times with him on my line. So yeah, he's probably another one if we're going to do a rec line. That's my rec line.
Nice.
Cool.
But yeah,
well, I don't know about you, Ali, but I'm quite hurt not being chosen for his top line. So
I died a little bit.
I think that's probably a good place to call it, so we can go and have a sulk.
Yeah, you can probably go and sulk a little bit, but do remember you were the guys that I wanted to bring on this podcast, so kind of got to give you a bit of leeway and not pick my line. Plus, chances are, like Biddy, you might end up playing D. You've pretty much got a line sorted between you and the two Sheffield boys on our club, and if you're not playing centre or defence, you'll be in goal, Biddy, so that's fine. So yeah, we've been going, I think, more than long enough. So I haven't really figured out a way to end this. So first off, I'm going to say thank you, Ollie, for joining me on this podcast, and hopefully we can do some more going forward, and hope some people listen to it, even if they don't. It's good to chat to you guys. Biddy, same to you. It's always fun. It's always good to chat to you, even though we're probably going to chat later on this week.
Cheers for inviting us on to your very first one. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll say this was the first one of Let's Talk Hockey. It was meant to be just so you listeners can hear about us and hear us waffle on about hockey and kind of get to know us and get to know our backgrounds and stuff. So if little stories do crop up, you're not kind of in the dark. But next podcast, we'll have maybe 2 or 3 questions and then a few hockey items that have come up recently in the news or some talking points. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. This has been Max, Ali, and Biddy. This is How to Hockey. Jeez, this is Let's Talk Hockey.
All right, Jeremy.
Shout out to How to Hockey. He's never going to listen to this. It's fine. So yeah, you've been listening to Let's Talk Hockey. See you on the next podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye, chaps.
Bye.